Welcome to the Driving the World podcast series. I'm your host, Cully Holland. Today we have Austin Burdette, our heavy industrial gearing product manager, and we're going to be talking about heavy industrial gearing mixers. Hey, Austin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Coley. Appreciate you having me on.
So today we're talking about specifically in the heavy industry gearing world, we're going to be talking about mixing solutions or mixers. So let's just start off at the top and kind of where do they fit in and why is this a specific subsect or genre of gearboxes, one would say?
Yeah, sure. So these heavy industry gearing units, right? We have tons of different industries and applications that we service, but specifically mixers and agitators are very key in different processes for industry. So essentially, a mixer is just what it sounds like. You're mixing things together, right? So there's lots of different reasons, different purposes for that. So one is just mixing ingredients together. So just think like a kitchen mixer, right? You can also speed up chemical reactions as well. That's really important for mixers. Also, you could speed up heating and cooling and also just separating materials out.
So it sounds like they're going to fit into a lot of different industries. And I mean, from what you said, I'm thinking any kind of food and bev, maybe some chemical, maybe some pharmaceutical with the reactions. Is there anywhere else they might be commonly seen?
Sure, we see it a lot in construction material production, also just any type of mining, ethanol creation as well. Like you kind of mentioned, like chemical, food and beverage, wastewater treatment is a big one, like rubber and plastic as well.
So it sounds like this might be a pretty common application where lots of folks are going to be seeing it. So what makes it special? So we have this whole mixing solution. Why? Why is it so special, or what's the challenges that we overcome with these boxes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, right? So we have to go back to high school physics. So good old Newton, we can't escape his three laws, right? So the third law is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So in short, if you push something, it's going to push back, right? So if you punch a wall, usually the wall wins.
Usually, yeah.
So same thing, actually, when you're mixing with this giant industrial gearbox, whatever you're mixing actually kind of pushes back, and there's some external forces, is what we call them, on the output shaft of the gearbox, and then that travels through the housing as well. So you have to have a very robust housing. Also, the bearing design in the gearbox is super critical because you have different types of loads. Maybe it's an axial load, maybe it's a radial or overhung load on the output shaft that you have to withstand. So the gearboxes have to be very carefully designed and sized.
I mean, that makes sense to me because anytime we're sizing a gearbox and I hear overhung load and definitely axial and or radial forces, you definitely want to be careful. So how does SEW overcome these challenges? What does SEW do in particular to make it such a well-fitted solution in these industries and areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really two things. We got the people and we also have the products. So we have the solutions, right? So it's not just products, but actually solutions. So the people of SEW, whether it's your HIG salesman, maybe it's your 7 Series salesman, because we have 7 Series mixer products as well in our giant mixer portfolio, or also your application engineer. They all work together to help put you into the optimal solution. And again, like I mentioned, we do have products, and from that, we pull the perfect solution for you.
Awesome. So the people are great. People like you, people like me, people like the sales force, always happy to help. But let's dive into the products a little bit more. What about our products are different maybe from the standard XE series or standard 7 and 9 series we see? We're talking about mixing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of the game for mixing is just reinforcement, right? Robustness. So these gearboxes are going to be beefier than just the standard, like let's say X Series, one of our flagship products for the HIG division that we have here. So you'll have for the HM mixer housing, which is our new, or agitator housing, you may hear it called. So that's just a extra robust X Series housing, and we have 3 different bearing grades that we can use there, so different bearing configurations. So maybe your mixing application is more overhung load heavy versus an axial or a thrust load heavy application. So then we can change the bearings in that housing configuration for you, and it's optimal for your application.
I mean, that's awesome. And dealing with output bearings, overhung load, sounds like we're really hitting the nail on the head. And with these drives, with these solutions, it sounds like they might be a critical drive. Is there anything we can do to kind of keep an eye on these or anything like that? Preventive maintenance, if you will?
Absolutely. That's a great point too. So like I kind of touched on just one of the products. We can go into some other ones in a minute, the different series we have specifically for mixing, but this HM housing we're really excited about because it's very specifically designed for Drive Radar, which is our condition monitoring system that we offer for our different HIG products, but particularly the X series and then specifically this HM agitator housing. So like you mentioned, you want to know your drive, you want to know what sort of process information's going on, and also you want to have predictive maintenance so you can plan a downtime instead of having that surprise shutdown at your plant, which nobody likes, right?
No, surprise downtime is nobody's friend. And it sounds like we're really offering upfront services with the engineering, the sizing, the actual product itself with the reinforced bearings or different bearing options. And then even after the sale, we have this drive radar where we can take care of them. You mentioned we have a larger portfolio than just the XE box. So what else do we have? What other solutions do we have in this mixing portfolio?
Sure, absolutely. So, like I mentioned, we have our standard flagship XE series, which is extremely robust in its own right. And that covers a very wide swath of torque ranges and ratio ranges. And then we also, from that, have a step up in robustness for many, which is great for many mixing applications. And that's our EBD, or extended bearing distance design. I like to think of it in terms of like a diving board. So if you think about a diving board, if you have a really long diving board and your supports are close together, you're going to get a lot of whip in that diving board. If you think about the analogy of the diving board being the output shaft of the gearbox.
Okay.
So essentially what we do is we have those two supports. So those are your two bearings on your output side. And then you just extend that out. So you can imagine in that simple analogy that the whip you get, the deflection you get in that diving board or output shaft in this case would be much less. So that's essentially what we're doing is we're just adding an extended bearing distance, an extended bearing housing onto that standard X series housing. And so that's kind of an intermediate design for our more robust gearboxes. And then you get that full blown HM agitator housing like we're talking about.
Well, fantastic. And along with these bearings and the extended bearing design, are there any other features or options that they can add on or come standard with these that really just make it suitable in these mixing conditions?
Right. And so if you think about mixers, typically it's shaft down. Occasionally you have some horizontal mixers as well, but typically they're vertical mixers. So you have some bearings in some unoptimal places if you just use splash lubrication. So we have a wide array of pressure lubrication options. So we can do shaft end pumps, we can do dedicated oil pumps external to the gearbox, all of that good stuff, which really helps keep your bearings lubricated, helps to eliminate any unplanned downtime like we talked about.
Well, fantastic. And we've already talked about where, but do we have any like success stories or really ideal situations for these?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we've sold tons and tons of these, right? Even just with this HM housing, we've already sold tons of them. So definitely a high number. I won't share the specifics, but I've been very pleased with the sales numbers so far for those around the world. So just like one example I can think of is a company called Afro Mix. So it's a gold slurry plant that they have in South Africa. And just seeing some pictures of that and the great job our corporate marketing team has done there, just telling that story is pretty sweet.
I mean, if it's out there on the corporate marketing team, we can find that white paper, maybe throw it in the comments or in the description so other folks can find that. It sounds like we've really hit the nail on the head. Are there any resources that folks should keep an eye out for or
Yeah.
anything else that we think we've missed talking about that we want to cover real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't end the podcast without talking about the new HIG USA mixing brochure. So it's about a 40-page brochure. It's really more of a mini technical catalog with some marketing information and technical information in there. Super great reference for you guys to have. Talks a little bit about like real examples of where SEW does have mixers installed in the field. And then there's also a QR code link on the second page of that brochure that will take you to a mixer selection worksheet. And that just walks us through the different applications and industries these are common in, the different selection methodologies. There's two main ones. Long story short, a lot of times we don't get the best information on these old mixers in the field, as you know. So it's just a really great worksheet checklist to go through and make sure that sales and the customer is aware of the implications of if you have all of this information, we can get you sized into a custom perfect gearbox. And then if all we have to go off of is maybe like output shaft diameter of the previous gearbox and the nameplate's worn off and there's no drawings, right? There's no information. Then of course we're going to go more on the conservative side when we go to size up that mixer box for you because we don't want things to break.
Of course not. We want to have happy customers and long living gearboxes. But it sounds like with that 40-page document, technical and marketing, And that link to that that sizing worksheet, I mean, that's really exciting. I know I'm gonna go check it out myself. And I think we did a really good job here. Is there anything else you want to add talking about these mixer drives, or is that a good 10,000 foot overview?
I think it's pretty good. I will mention one more thing, just that we didn't have time to get into all the different HIG and also the 7 Series product mixer specific gearbox designs. But if you check out that link for that 40-page brochure, you'll see not only the HIG mixer specific designs, but also the 7 Series ones as well. And it'll just really give you a better understanding than just us talking in this short format of just how large our product and solution portfolio is for mixers.
Well, fantastic. A little homework never hurt anybody. So you heard it here first. Let's go find that link and check it out. And Austin, I always appreciate your time.
Absolutely. You too, Coley. Thanks.